APOE gene. Yeah, some of you I see shaking your head. Good. So this is, we've identified a gene that is linked with Alzheimer's disease risk, and it's called APOE4, specifically APOE4. Here's what it means when you have these types of genes. So you can have an APOE2, an APOE3, or an APOE4. We get two alleles, one from each parent, and we can test this gene to see if it's a 2, a 3, or a 4. 3 is considered baseline as far as risk goes. 2 actually shows a decreased risk and is beneficial. If you happen to get an APOE4, that is indicative of a higher risk. If you have one copy of the 4, so maybe you have a 2 and a 4, or a 3 and a 4, they show that roughly gives you a 2 to 4 times higher risk of Alzheimer's compared to non-carriers, and that the onset is often 2 to 5 years earlier if you have the APOE4 gene, if you just have one. If you have 2 copies, which is called homozygous for APOE4, up to 10 to 15 times higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And the onset can be 5 to 10 years earlier, so often in the mid-60s versus in later years if you have that. Recent research suggests that APOE4 homozygosity, meaning you have the 2 copies, acts like a distinct genetic form of Alzheimer's with highly predictable biomarker changes like amyloid buildup starting as early as age 55, mild cognitive impairment around 72, dementia around 74, and death around 77 in some of the cohort studies. APOE4 is linked to over half of Alzheimer's cases in some estimates, so this could be a big factor in the Alzheimer's disease. And then recent analysis suggests that APOE variations may contribute to a very large proportion of cases.
How do you test for that?
It's a genetic test, so it's usually cheek swab. We actually test for it 2 different ways. I am feeling very nervous about my chart. Oh, right here.
That's a risk factor for dementia.
Did you say my laptop has dementia?
Do you want me to get an extension cord or something?
I don't know. I would like to know that it's charging. I just keep seeing the things that tell me like, you're, okay, it says charging. We're good now. It was falling out of the back. Okay, there's 2 ways that we can test for the APOE gene. One is, if you guys don't know, we do functional nutritional testing. One of them is the metabolics test. This test starts with a urinalysis. We also do a finger prick. It tells you if there's any deficiencies of vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids. It has markers for gut health. It's very intensive, and that helps us to create a very customized protocol of supplements and lifestyle changes, because it's showing us exactly what you may not have enough of that you're getting just from your typical diet. So then we can have a customized plan on here's what you're showing you need and how much to take of those nutrients. Then one of the add-ons with the metabolics test is we can add on, there's 4 specific genes that we'll add on to that, and one of them is APOE, and it's a cheek swab that we send into the lab, and they'll test that. And APOE is so important in my opinion that's one of the tests that we do there. This is a more expensive test with the genetic testing. It's $8.99 when we do this. There's a more affordable option if you're just interested in the genes part, and that's some of the panels that we do with Fagron Genomics. And this is a neurological psych panel that they offer that we often do here in the office. And it looks at over 30 different genes that are all involved in mental health, including dementia risk. It looks at genes for neurotransmission, neuroinflammation, neurotropic factors, neurodegeneration, autophagy efficacy, and detoxification. The cost of the Fagron panel that looks at APOE is $325 29. And this can also be specifically recommended for adults who deal with ADD or ADHD, headaches, seizure disorders, vertigo, bipolar, neuropathies, schizophrenia, psychosis, Parkinson's, anxiety disorders, as well as Alzheimer's disease. So this is one of the helpful things. And when we do get the information back, if your APOEs show a S&P or single nucleotide polymorphism of a 4, the APOE 4s that we were talking about with the higher risk, it also comes with some specific recommendations of either supplements or lifestyle that can help mitigate the risk. Because not everybody, even those with the APOE 4-4, gets Alzheimer's disease. Genes are helpful to understand because it can tell us what we may be more genetically prone towards, but it is not a absolute you're going to have this. Genes load the gun, but you can just have a loaded gun there that never fires. Lifestyle pulls the trigger. It's the epigenetics, which is how everything we do, how we move, what we eat, that affects those genes being turned on or off, whether they're upregulated or downregulated. And that's like the great hope, that just because you have the genes does not automatically. And then, but if you do know, it changes some things. I did genetic testing on my daughter when she was like a week old, because I was just like, I want to know everything about you. And I wanted to know as much information as possible to make the best choices when she was young and growing and it helped me. I learned stuff about her body's inability to really make adequate amounts of vitamin D. So I make sure that she supplements with vitamin D. I found out that she's not a good methylator, which means when she takes cheap B vitamins, which are included in like every grain product in the US, then it actually can lead to higher homocysteine levels, and that could lead to heart disease later on in life. And so because of that, we supplement with methylfolate. You know, there's so much little details that you can learn about yourself, and then you can make more educated choices to build good health in your body. So I know that was like a lot of things that you might not know what I'm talking about, but it's helpful.
So